Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from around the world. Welcome to our webinar series, another edition here of Ahead of the Curve, digital marketing tips, tricks, and tactics to help businesses through COVID-19. And before we get started, let's just do a quick sound check to make sure that we're coming through okay. Let's just all good, great, excellent. Okay, next slide there, Cheryl. So just another couple of few housekeeping items. All the lines are muted, but you can submit your questions via the question pane there. We will be having a Q&A session at the end. We've got a really good topic here today, and I know Chuck's got a lot of great things to share with you. So I know he's prepared to stay over for a few extra minutes in case our Q&A does go over. But the format of this session is basically going to be 20 minutes or so of content, and we'll try to leave about 10 minutes for Q&A. The webinar is being recorded. We will be sending out the webinar recording. Because we have such a huge number of people coming into these webinars, if you do experience any kind of audio challenges, you can try to log out and log back in again, or you can use the dial-in number that's been provided to you. Okay, let's get going here. So just maybe before we get into our topic today, just a quick overview about WSI. So at WSI, we've been around for 25 years, and literally we've helped hundreds of thousands of businesses with their digital marketing strategies. And so we've got a global team across the world of consultants that work with all types and sizes of businesses. And what we wanted to do with this series was really just provide some strategies and tips and things that businesses can use today to kind of help them digitize, because we've really been forced to digitize in many cases through the lockdowns with COVID-19 and so forth. So it's been great to see the feedback we've been getting from businesses. In fact, we've extended this series now for another 3 sessions, and I'll talk a bit about that later towards the end. But let me introduce you to our topic today and our presenter. So our topic today is on conversion rate optimization. In the last couple sessions, we talked about communication. We talked about targeting the right personas with the right messaging. Last session, we talked about technology that can do some of that for you. But one of the best ways to communicate with your end users or your clients is through your website. And so you may be getting visitors to your website. And so our session today is about conversion rate optimization. Our speaker today is Chuck Bankoff. He's based out of California. Chuck is not only an agency owner, but he's also an author. He's a blogger. He is a international speaker. And Chuck is actually the author of our chapter on conversion rate optimization in Digital Minds, WSI's bestseller. But Chuck's been actually helping businesses for over 20 years in the field of digital marketing. So I know he's got a lot to share with you today. Chuck, are you there?
I'm there.
Okay, excellent. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Chuck, for the next little bit to share some of the experience and tips you have on conversion rate optimization.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. So, I've got a lot of stuff to cover today. Good luck taking notes, but, be assured, we go into a lot of detail in the book. Pretty easy to come by the book. And more importantly, your WSI consultant is familiar with all of the things I'm going to talk about. So without reading the bullet points to you, essentially what I'm going to cover is why conversion rate optimization is so much more important than just driving traffic. And then we're going to go over a lot of detail about some of the little things. It's really an accumulation of a lot of little things that really add up to the conversions. We're going to focus a little bit on the call to actions, and I have some examples for you. And then we're going to touch on one of my favorite topics, how to screw things up. Okay, I have a high degree of expertise in screwing things up, so I have a lot to share with you. And then we're going to touch on, why we're here in the first place, why you have time for this webinar, some of the things you really have to consider during this epidemic. So let's get started, Cheryl. Okay, so this is one of my favorite slides here because it says a lot in a little bit here, right? The math is so simple, even I can figure it out, right? So if you're going to improve your sales or your conversions, there are 3 ways of doing it, right? Let's assume that you have a conversion rate of 1%. Historically, out of every 100 visitors that go to your website, one of them contacts you, they fill out a form, calls you, a transaction, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, and you can pretty much rely on that. So if you were going to get 1,000 visitors a month on a 1% conversion rate, you get about 120 customers or leads, right? Now, let's suppose that's not good enough, right? That to make your numbers, you have to triple that. You need 360 leads a year. Well, there are 3 ways of doing it. One, the obvious way is 1% conversion rate. Well, if I triple my traffic, then I can triple my leads. Okay. Problem with that is traffic's expensive. I mean, you can buy traffic. You can buy it from Google. You can do Google Ads. Same with Yahoo and Bing, Facebook, Instagram. It's all for sale. You can do organic search engine optimization. Although you don't pay per click, there's a lot of effort and thus some expense associated with that. And you got to keep it up month after month after month. Or you can upsell, right? You can sell your existing customers or your new customers more and more often, right? Or you can take the easy way out. You can improve your conversion rate. So if you were to get the same 1,000 visitors a month, 12,000 a year, and increase your conversion rate from 1% to 3%, you made your numbers. But also, it's kind of sort of permanent, right? Relying solely on traffic, you have to do it month after month after month in perpetuity. But when you do the things on your website that I'm going to show you, it's somewhat permanent, right? So it has a longer lasting effect. And if you did all 3 of these things, right, I think you'll be in pretty good shape. So next slide. All right, I used to tell my clients, less on the internet, less is more. People don't read on the internet, they scan, they see headlines, images, and bullet points, right? So the less you put on, the more likely you are to get a positive reaction. I was thinking that, what, it isn't necessarily less is more, it's just the right amount is more. I've had clients ask me, well, how many words should I write on my blog? And I said, well, I will tell you the exact number of words. Not 1 word more than you need, not 1 word less than you need, right? The watchword here is concise. Be concise. Don't waste people's time. It's short attention span theater out there. People have the attention span of a goldfish, and if you give them too much information, they just kind of just tune it out, right? And another thing is, don't ask for too much too soon. By that I mean, don't be asking for contact information, phone numbers, things like that too early in the process, right? So less is not more, just enough is more. Slide. Okay, so I'm just going into different sections where these are things that you can kind of fine tune. Once again, with that theme of just the right amount is more. Generally speaking, the more information you ask people to fill out on a form, the less likely they are to fill it out, right? So you think of it like as a relationship. It is a relationship with your customers. It's like flirting and dating and then marriage, right? On your form, you can't ask them to marry you. You can't ask them necessarily their phone number if it's not essential to the process, right? You can't ask them for all sorts of information. The job of your initial contact is for you to become in control. You become in control when you have their contact information, right? Start with the email address. If it warrants a phone number, go ahead, but keep in mind, people are fairly reluctant for that, right? There is an exception to that rule, right? Longer forms can be used as a screening process. This is when the cost of vetting a lead exceeds the value of that lead. So if you have a long, somewhat laborious form, you're going to weed out the looky-loos. Only the people who really want your product or service and are qualified will probably finish it. But don't go crazy with that, right? You still want to remain in control. So really don't, whenever possible, don't ask for more than you need. Okay, next slide. All right, so pop-ups, right? Pop-ups are very useful. They're also potentially very annoying. My pet peeve, and I see this all the time, is you're on a web page. I just get there, right? I don't know, I haven't read anything yet. As soon as I get there, there's a pop-up in front of my face saying, hey, subscribe to my newsletter. Why would I subscribe to your newsletter? I haven't even had a chance to see what's on your website yet, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is what? I'm going to look for that little X and click it, and that's it. I'm not subscribing to your newsletter like ever at this point, and I may not even stick around on the site. You know, just kind of, we started off on a bad relationship there. You just annoyed me, right? Something that you need to know is that there are different ways to trigger those pop-ups. So one way is by a timer, right? So it's okay, maybe you have it 15 seconds into the process, so people have a chance to kind of get oriented onto the page, and then the pop-up comes. So you know they had at least a chance to look at it. Another common way of doing it is a certain point when they're scrolling, when they reach a certain point on the page, then it pops up. You know, that's better, okay? Most cases for me, not all cases, I prefer what's called intent to exit, meaning no pop-up until my cursor, my mouse cursor, goes up to the top of the screen to reach for the back button or the menu to go to another page. At that point, what do I have to lose? Someone has already read everything, or they're done with the page, they're leaving anyway. And I'm going to show you some examples of these as we go along. So next slide. Live chat, okay, and chatbots. Last week, Eric Cook did a phenomenal job on this, went into a lot more detail than I have time to do today. But a couple of things is, obviously, you know, people know the difference. Don't try and fool them into thinking your chatbot's a real person. Also in California, there's actual law that you have to disclaim that this is not a real person. I find that totally unnecessary, but welcome to California. Okay, segregating users right from the get-go. So we work with a lot of schools. So who goes to a school's website? Well, let's just say parents of existing enrolled students, and let's just say parents of who are maybe looking at the school, right? And so we might say something like, "Hi, we're here to help you. Are you an existing parent of a student, or are you interested in a school?" And the parent would choose one or the other. Then they would go down that particular path. The parent of an existing student might just want to talk to someone about their kids being home from school and can they get their homework. A parent investigating the school has a whole different agenda. And something else that a lot of people don't realize you can do is, since you can click, you know, at any time you can put links in there, you can take people to a landing page where you can collect their contact information by offering them a lead magnet, which is a guide or an ebook or something like that. Next slide. All right, so here's an example of a bad one and a very good one, I think. The one on the left is a little contrived. I made that one up, okay? And I'm not going to read it for you. It's pretty lame. The one on the right is actually a real chatbot for a news organization, right? So I'll just quickly read that for you because it's really done well. You know, "Hi from news organization. I'm here to bring you the most important news of the day. There's a lot going on in the world. I can send you daily updates with top stories, or you can message me directly about a topic you're interested in, like politics, tech, and I'll send you the latest." Okay, let's get started. Here are some options with a little arrow pointing down, and you have 3 options, right? This was conversational, right? It gave them direction, gave them choices, there's some personality to it. Okay, so look at the difference between these two here. The one on the right is very well thought out. Okay, next slide. Okay, I think Ryan Kelly did the segment on video. I think that might have been the very first episode of Ahead of the Curve. So I'm not going to read this to you, but one of the things I do want you to do is think about creative ways of using video, right? It doesn't have to be just talking heads, right? You could do time lapse if you said you had a product and there was an unboxing or an assembly or something like that. We work with a lot of schools, as I said. Drone footage of a beautiful campus is really, really effective. Anytime you can personalize your company or your team. You could augment your About Us page with personal videos. You can even embed videos into your emails. Like when you email someone, you can have a personal message. You can ask your WSI consultant about how to do that. That's really effective. Next slide. Social proof. Look, customers want to know that you've made other customers happy, right? One really good way of doing that is case studies, especially if you're in a niche market, right? So, people want to know that you've been effective in doing what they want you to do, what they're asking you to do. And if you can prove that, you have a leg up in your competition, okay? Testimonials, that's social proof, but they're not as good. They're good, but they're not as good as reviews. Reviews are better simply because a testimonial, look, I can write testimonials myself all day and decorate my entire website with them, but reviews are considered more legit because you actually have to have a profile. So reviews, very powerful. And then of course, all the off-site things like, your Google reviews and Yelp and Facebook, your LinkedIn profile, these things all, even though they're not on your website, they actually contribute to your website's credibility. And then finally, things like, Better Business Bureau badges or awards you won or things like that, all contributes to the prestige and basically saying, look, we've made other people happy. All right, next slide. All right, so this is where the rubber meets the road, the call to action. And so I took 3 of them here and they're pretty good, right? I'm just gonna read the third one down, pipe drive, just so you get the point of what I'm going at. So I broke it into what I call the pitch, right? This is what we're offering, and the button is so important, right? So the number 3 is take control of your sales process. Try it free. Well, that's pretty well done, right? It's using action words, take control, right? It's using direction, try it free, and it's using the most important word on the internet, free. It's the most effective word on the internet. And the button itself says, get started free, right? It's got direction, it's an instruction, and we're using that word free again, right? Now, compare that to, click here or submit, right? This is well done. It's motivated, it's simple, and it gives direction, right? So I really want to emphasize the importance of your buttons on your calls to action, because that is really the that's the moment of truth. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is I'm going to do some examples of some calls to action. This is just what the page looks like when you get here. And this is on a timer, so next slide. So you see what happens after a few seconds. Okay, this is a pop-up, but it's a call to action pop-up, right? So this is a timer. If this wasn't a screenshot, if it was live, the seconds would be counting down. You'd see that. So it's creating a sense of urgency. So what's going on here is I go to the website, I'm probably had time to scroll down a little bit. And after so many seconds, this pop-up comes up, and basically it's creating the sense of urgency. It's making me an offer, right? Like, hey, the open house, if you're really interested, this is your chance. You click more, then you can register, then we have your contact information, that sort of thing, right? Next slide. Okay, so this is a page from our website. It's a landing page, it's not a home page. If you look at the lower right-hand corner, that's where we have our chat, right? So you can see I'm segmenting our customers into 3 categories. Are you interested in business marketing? That's kind of the general leg of our offerings. School marketing, which is our specialty, or do you just want to book a consultation, right? But when you're done reading about the digital marketing blueprint for schools, right? Next slide. So now you're done and you're reaching to go to another page on our website, or you're reaching for the back button. This is what's called intent to exit, right? So I'm leaving now, my mouse cursor goes up to the top, and so far I haven't interrupted what they were doing, anything they were reading, but now there's a call to action, right? Wait, don't leave empty-handed. Thanks for stopping by, right? So they can click on that, they'll go to a landing page where they can download these ebooks for free, right? But you know, they have to give me their contact information, and then they go into our database, and then they start getting messages, you know, lead nurturing type of messages from us. Next slide. Okay, so CTA, call to action, best practices. I want to get you here relatively out of time, so I'm not going to read through it. But one of the things I really wanted to point out is make it easy to notice. And the tendency is for web designers to make everything look good, to blend it in, right? Well, you're not trying to camouflage your call to action by making it blend into the rest of the site. It's okay to use colors that don't exist anywhere on the site, shapes, things that are, you know, you might say, well, you know, it doesn't look right. It kind of stands out too much. No, it doesn't stand out too much. It stands out. That's what you want. You want to, you know, it's okay, it's permissible that it doesn't blend in and match everything else. Another thing is the timing, right? Again, I go back to when the pop-up comes up right when I first get there, that's bad time. When I have a pop-up when I'm leaving a page, that's good time, okay? Next slide, please. Okay, so here's an area of expertise for me, which is screwing up. And I was looking at this slide earlier, and I was thinking, you know, I could go through each of these individually, but there seems to be a common theme here, and that is too much text, too many links going to places, too many fields on a form that you know you need. Then I guess there's the other end, lack of choices, phone or email or submitted forms, inadequate shipping. Someone lost a sale from me just the other day because it's really difficult to get a haircut around this joint. So I was trying to get some clippers, and they wouldn't tell me when they would ship. And so I bailed out on the process, right? And of course, anything that doesn't work, broken links, just anything that doesn't work is not going to help your cause at all. Next slide. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about COVID. This is probably why you have time to attend this webinar, right? So I've been paying attention to, you know, what some companies are doing. We've been helping our clients with certain things. Again, our clients are majority of them are schools, and COVID is, of course, a very big consideration. And you know what? One of the things I wanted to say is don't feel obligated to go overboard with the COVID stuff. You know, it's all over the news. We're saturated with it. Address it within the context of your business. How does this affect you as my customer? Well, here are your instructions. What's changed with us? So next slide. Okay, so this is one of our clients, and you see this blue bar on the top, and on the left it says Leap Academy Families. Click here for distance learning, and on the right, COVID-19 family resources. That bar isn't there all year long. We put that up specifically, you know, during this time period, right? Because people need to know these things. I have students in school, or I want my child to go to the school. So if you were to click on the one on the right, Cheryl, just next, there you go. This is, you know, it's a screenshot, but if you scroll down, this is a long page full of really good information that a parent needs to know, right? This page is not going to be here forever. It's here now because it needs to be here now, right? So we're addressing this within the, hang on. Okay. All right, so there we go. I had a timer on. Okay, so we're addressing this within the context of what we really need to communicate. Next slide. Okay, so this is another school, right? This is a school in the Czech Republic, and so this is the page in the background there. This pops up as you're scrolling, and then there's information about, look, the campus is closed for now, and there's information about enrollment. And if you were to click on the button, the red button there, go ahead and next slide. You're going to go to a page from the dean of the school, you know, talking about, you know, here's what you can expect if you're looking at enrolling in our school, or if you're an existing parent, right? Again, these pages are not going to exist, hopefully, in a month or two. Okay, well, maybe longer for schools. Okay, so in terms of COVID, focus on what is important for your customers to know about your business. Next slide. Okay, so a little e-commerce thing. This is something, I was actually doing this, right? So I'm looking at buying this recumbent bike. And so I'm going through the process. I'm in the shopping cart and I can choose my delivery type. And you know what? I don't feel like assembling these things, right? So I'm going to pay the extra money to have someone come in and set it up like I did with my treadmill. And so I go to click on assembly, right? And up pops this box with the gray square here, right? We have temporarily suspended some home deliveries and assemblies. We realize this is inconvenient for many, but after taking into consideration guidelines and recommendations passed down by various agencies, we have decided it's best interest for the health and safety of our customers and the general population to adhere to the guidance put forth. We do apologize for the inconvenience, okay? That is built into the process now. You don't have to go anywhere. If you're attempting to make a purchase where it's assembled, comes pre-assembled or assembled in your house, they're letting you know, I'm sorry, it's not available and here's why, right? So it's built into the process. I think that's a pretty good technique they use. Next slide. All right, so summarizing, what we just talked about, CRO, conversion rate optimization, concentrate on that before the traffic. I mean, yeah, you can spend a lot of money on traffic, and what good does it do you if you're not converted, right? So work on your conversions, best practices, and so forth, but do you know if it's effective? Well, you don't really know until you actually have some traffic and you can monitor what's working and what isn't, right? But keep your conversion rate as your primary objective. You can always add traffic, right? As a general rule, people have very short attention spans on the internet. Minimize distractions. You don't want people clicking all over the place and leaving the page. You want to control the process, right? So you want to be able to give them limited choices that are really meets their goals and meets your goals of a conversion, okay? And don't make visitors think or work too hard. If you have a page of a large block of text, people subconsciously look at it, not even thinking about it, going, geez, that's a lot of work. Now, you know what, let me scroll past that and see, and with the intention of coming back and reading it, they're not coming back, right? Just the right amount is more. And above all, remember, it's not about you, right? Your website is not a monument to you and your customers. It is about your customers. It's built for them to meet your goals and to meet their goals. And I think that's what I have by way of summary.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Chuck. And we've got some good questions coming in here from people, and obviously we've got a lot of great comments from people as well. So we'll get to the Q&A here. I just want to remind people that there's more information on conversion rate optimization as well as a number of other topics in our Digital Minds book, which is available on Amazon now. This is our 3rd edition, and so you can see that there on the slide. Also, I just want to remind you that these things, conversion rate optimization, your website, reviews, Chuck mentioned, these types of things, these are all areas that WSI focuses on, and you can talk to your consultant about these areas in terms of how it maybe applies to your business and where maybe they can help you on some of these things. And so you reach out to your consultant. If you're not sure who that is, reach out to us at contact@wsiworld.com. Also want to remind you about our next webinar, which is going to be on SEO. And so this is a great time to really lean into working on your business, your content. We've talked about that. And doing it from an SEO perspective, this can be an opportunity to actually raise up some of those rankings on Google and other search engines, so that not only now, but certainly when you come out of it, and when we all come out of it, you're going to be well positioned. And so that's going to be next week. Use the same link that we used again for the session today. So let's get to some Q&A here, Chuck. I had a question here with regards to, I think it related back to when you were talking about the bots and talking about kind of gathering information from people to lead them to a lead magnet and so forth. And so the question was, is there any legalities in terms of collecting information when you're doing that through a bot?
I don't think that comes into play because no one has to give up any information that they don't volunteer. I mean, you have to actually ask for information, right? So if people fill it out, they fill it out. I will say that one of the techniques we use is we use Facebook Messenger marketing. The reason being, if someone doesn't leave their contact information and they leave, they're pretty much gone. You don't know who they are, right? But Facebook knows, right? So you have an opportunity to connect with them through Facebook, but that's perfectly legit. I mean, they're on Facebook, you're on Facebook, they initiated a conversation. Even then, you only have 24 hours to contact them. If they re-engage with you, the clock resets, you can do it again. So no, we're not automatically collecting information from someone, they're voluntarily giving it to us.
Okay, great. Got a question here just about reviews. And so you sort of touched on that in terms of what is the difference between a testimonial and the reviews?
Yeah, a testimonial is you go to a page on a website and you see something that says, greatest thing since sliced bread, Jay Smith, Tempe, Arizona, right? Well, I could have written that. Anyone could have written that. How do you know that's legitimate? You can make up testimonials all day, right? But reviews, in order to leave a review on Yelp, you have to have a Yelp profile. You have to be able to log in. Same thing with Google My Business. Leaving, I forgot what they call them, endorsements or whatever on LinkedIn. You have to have a LinkedIn account. So there's a certain degree of legitimacy associated with reviews that is kind of missing on testimonials. Don't get me wrong, if you have testimonials, use them. I'm just saying reviews are inherently more powerful because people know that you actually are a real person for the most part.
Right. I think it increases that trust factor. Mm-hmm. And I know for some of the clients that we work with, there's a great way that we can actually pull in some of those Google reviews onto their website. So people are seeing that from their site, but these are real live, Google reviews that are coming, from there. Let's just see here. Question just about conversion rates. Is there anything that you have any on that in terms of what a good benchmark might be? I guess it probably depends, but is there anything that you follow as it relates to that?
No, that's very much industry centric. For example, if you're selling widgets one at a time for 99 cents each, you better have a pretty good conversion rate. If you're an attorney, a personal injury attorney, and you get $1 million case a year, you're fine. All right. So it really has to do with the value of that lead, of that customer, and it has to do with the ticket price too, right? You can sell way more widgets at 99 cents than you're going to get $1 million lawsuit cases, right? So I don't have any industry information. There are just too many variables there. All you need to do is look at what are your numbers, right? What are your conversion rates? What do you need in order to make your goals, and then you work towards that.
Okay, great. Question just about the intent to exit pop-ups that you showed in your presentation there. One of the questions is in regards to if they're going to a different page on your site and you showed them the intent to exit pop-up on one page, would you show that again, or is there a certain number that you would, is there a certain number of times you might show that to somebody?
Yeah, you can put it on a timer. Generally speaking, we don't. It becomes really annoying. I mean, you've done it yourself, and it just, look, if I was interested before, I would have done it, right? The trick is putting it in the right place in the first place, right? And so what we generally do is we put it on a timer so that if someone comes back 24 hours later, the pop-up will show up again one more time. Okay, but during that session, or even if they come back later in the day, the pop-up is gone. We're not going to beat it to death.
Okay, great. We had a question here just about engaging people so to engage with your chat, right? So you showed that on your site. Are there any tips that you've seen work well to enhance people engaging with your bot?
Yeah, I mean, you want to be conversational, right? You want to disclose that your bot, and at the right place, you do want to ask for the contact information, you know, and you do it in a nice, friendly way. I think what you want to do is that screening process is like by asking them questions like, hey, are you more interested in this or this? Then you go down that path. And if you ever saw the way we have to lay these things out, it's like a tree of this. It's like a decision matrix, right? And so there are a lot of variables. And before you get too far down the road, you want to get their contact information, right? So it is very much reliant on your buyer persona, what their goals are, why they're at your website in the first place, and you ask them questions and you respond to that just like you would if you were talking to them. So you actually have to kind of play out what the conversation looks like if you went this way or that way.
Perfect. Perfect. And I think that's a great segue. I know we're a little bit over time right now. And for those people that we didn't get to your questions, I know there was a lot of questions in there. Certainly, your consultant will follow up with you on that. And what Chuck said, all the things that we've been talking about, which is we've been sort of kind of planting things on an ongoing basis so that each session leads into the other, the personas, the conversational marketing, and now conversion, obviously, everything all ties together. So reach out to your consultant, of course, to get more information there. And join us for our next webinar, which is on SEO. And so that's really important because that's content as well, and really how that's going to help you and some strategies to enhance your SEO. And then again, the great news is with the feedback we've been getting from everybody on this series, we're extending it for 3 more sessions, which will take us to the end of May. So we've got how to optimize your digital presence during COVID-19, which is next week. We've got tracking the insights that matter most to your business. So we're going to dig into some of the analytics and how you understand that. And then we're going to wrap up this series with a really defining your post-COVID digital marketing plan. Hopefully by the end of May, we're really going to be, and we're seeing some, some areas coming out of this and so forth. It's super important to have a plan for that. And so we want to have a session geared towards that. So thank you again for everybody attending today. Chuck, great presentation as always. And, we'll see you next week, same time, same link, and we'll talk to you then.
Bye, everybody.